Some movies entertain, others become immortal, but few reshape an entire genre the way The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly did. Released in 1966, this groundbreaking Western shattered expectations with its gritty tone, unforgettable characters, and sweeping visuals. Yet beneath the dusty ponchos and echoing gunshots lies a tangled story of production chaos, risky decisions, and shocking secrets that most fans never heard about. Whether you're a longtime fan or seeing it with fresh eyes, get ready to uncover the truth behind the standoff. Here are 25 secrets that have remained buried until now. Number 1. The story was improvised on the spot. Big studio deals are often hashed out in boardrooms. This one began with a casual lunch and no script. The idea that would eventually become The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was born almost by accident, crafted mid-conversation over a plate of pasta. When United Artists expressed interest in distributing Sergio Leone's earlier films, they also wanted a third to complete the package. But no such project existed yet. Desperate not to lose momentum, screenwriter Luciano Vincenzoni improvised on the spot. He pitched a Civil War-era tale about 3 drifters chasing hidden gold. That single off-the-cuff sentence got the film greenlit. The poster flashed in his mind, and the pitch was so vivid it secured immediate approval. No outline, no treatment, just raw instinct. From that brief moment of spontaneous creativity came one of the most enduring westerns in cinematic history. Number 2. Clint Eastwood almost said no. Every iconic role has a tipping point where it almost didn't happen. For this Western legend, that moment came with frustration, doubt, and a demand for more than just a good script. When Clint Eastwood was approached to return for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he wasn't thrilled. The idea of sharing the spotlight with 2 other main characters didn't sit well with him, especially after carrying the first 2 films. He even joked that if things kept going this way, the next sequel would pair him with the entire cavalry. But what really held him back was money. His star power was growing fast in Europe, but not yet in America. That gave producers the upper hand, until delays began costing time. Leone flew to California personally, and after 2 long days of negotiation, Eastwood agreed. His reward? $250,000, 10% of the profits, and a brand new Ferrari. Sometimes the right offer can still make a cowboy ride. Number 3. Orson Wells warned them to stop. Not everyone saw a masterpiece in the making. One of cinema's greatest minds urged the filmmakers to walk away before they even started rolling. When word spread that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly would be set during the American Civil War, Orson Wells reportedly cautioned Sergio Leone against the idea. He believed Civil War stories were a recipe for failure, citing how poorly such films usually performed at the box office. To Wells, the setting was a death sentence for mainstream appeal. But Leone wasn't swayed. Determined to bring historical grit to his vision, he used 19th century photographs by famed war photographer Matthew Brady as visual references. The dusty uniforms, somber expressions, and ruined battlefields shaped the film's somber tone. While others feared failure, Leone saw opportunity, and the risk paid off, defying Wells's warning and rewriting the rules of the Western genre. Number 4. It's actually a prequel. Some clues hide in plain sight, especially when it comes to timelines. While many viewers assume this film wraps up the so-called Dollars trilogy, its events actually unfold first. If you pay close attention, the character known as Blondie doesn't yet wear his trademark poncho at the start. That legendary piece of wardrobe only appears near the film's end, marking the beginning of the style we associate with Eastwood's gunslinger. It's an origin moment tucked into a finale. The trilogy wasn't originally conceived as a connected narrative. Sergio Leone never wrote the films with continuity in mind. The idea of the man with no name came later, an invention of United Artists to help market the movies in the US. Still, thanks to the recurring costumes and Eastwood's stoic persona, audiences stitched them into a saga. Ironically, the final film became the first step in the legend. Number 5. The title nearly made no sense. What would you have thought if the movie had been called The Two Magnificent Tramps? That was the original working title, before the marketing team stepped in with a serious upgrade. In the earliest stages, the project had no finalized name. As the story took shape, screenwriter Luciano Vincenzoni offered a rough idea: the good, the ugly, and the bad. United Artists liked the concept, but felt the phrasing was clunky for English-speaking audiences, so they flipped the order. The result was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a title that immediately framed each character and created instant intrigue. It was catchy, symmetrical, and visually striking on posters. Most importantly, it helped define the film's dynamic trio, even though the lines between good, bad, and ugly get pretty blurry in the story itself. Sometimes, a small change makes all the difference. Number 6. Angel Eyes was meant for someone else. Sometimes the perfect villain is born from a backup plan. The cold, ruthless Angel Eyes became legendary. But he wasn't the director's first choice. When casting began, Sergio Leone originally wanted Charles Bronson for the role. Bronson had the grit, presence, and intensity that Leone envisioned for the character. But there was a problem. He was already committed to filming The Dirty Dozen. With his schedule locked, Bronson had to pass. That opened the door for Lee Van Cleef, who had played a more heroic figure in For a Few Dollars More. Leone hesitated at first. He worried Van Cleef might not pull off the darkness the role demanded, but Van Cleef proved him wrong. His piercing eyes and chilling calm made Angel Eyes unforgettable. Sometimes, second choice becomes first legend. Number 7. Tucos' role nearly killed Eli Wallik. Getting the role of a lifetime often comes with a price, but few actors paid as high a toll as Eli Wallik. His portrayal of Tuco brought humor and chaos to the screen, but off-camera, it was a series of close calls. One terrifying moment came during the hanging scene. Wallik, with his hands tied behind his back, was mounted on a horse. The plan was for the gunshot to spook the horse, making it bolt. It worked, but a little too well. The horse took off before the noose could be safely released, dragging Wallik for nearly a mile while he choked and flailed in the saddle. Later, while filming a train sequence, he nearly lost his life again by almost raising his head into a speeding rail car. And during a different shoot, he accidentally drank from a bottle containing acid, mistaking it for soda. Despite it all, he completed the film. But those near misses weren't performances. They were real brushes with disaster. Number 8. The bridge explosion was a disaster. Spectacle on screen often hides chaos behind the scenes. One of the film's most iconic sequences nearly ended in catastrophe. Not for the characters, but for the production itself. The scene involving the dramatic bridge explosion was supposed to be a single take. Multiple cameras were set up, and the Spanish army was on standby to trigger the blast. But a miscommunication ruined everything. The cue word via was supposed to be given by director Sergio Leone. Instead, a crew member used the word too early while speaking to a cameraman. The explosives were triggered, but the cameras weren't rolling. With the bridge destroyed and no usable footage, the team had no choice but to rebuild it entirely, costing time, money, and tempers. Leone was furious. What was meant to be a flawless centerpiece turned into a lesson in how one word can wipe out weeks of preparation. Number 9. Eastwood was almost hit by shrapnel. Some stunts leave room for error, others leave no margin at all. In one explosive moment on set, Clint Eastwood came dangerously close to being seriously injured. During the scene where a structure is rigged with dynamite, the special effects team used real explosives to create a dramatic blast. Eastwood's character was supposed to be shielded behind a wall as the detonation occurred. But as the charges went off, debris and shrapnel flew in unpredictable directions, far too close for comfort. Eastwood remained calm in the moment, but crew members later admitted how narrowly he avoided injury. The protective barrier wasn't as effective as expected, and some fragments came within inches of him. In today's film industry, that would spark an investigation and new safety protocols. Back then, it was just another day on a Sergio Leone set, where realism often walked hand in hand with real danger. Number 10. Eastwood hated the cigars. Looking tough on screen often requires suffering behind the scenes. For Clint Eastwood, one small but unforgettable prop turned into a daily ordeal. Blondie's signature cheroot cigar added grit to the character, but Eastwood despised them. They were cheap, dry, and foul-tasting. Exactly the look Sergio Leone wanted, but a nightmare for the actor. Since Eastwood had to smoke them in nearly every scene, the constant exposure left him feeling nauseous and frustrated. To make matters worse, Leone didn't provide extras. Eastwood had to bring his own supply, cutting each cigar into thirds to match different takes. If a shot went long or had to be repeated, it meant relighting and enduring the harsh smoke all over again. Despite his dislike, he stayed professional. The stoic squint and smoldering cigar became part of Blondie's legend. But behind that cool exterior was an actor counting the seconds until he could spit it out. Number 11. Leone never wrote anything down. Precision was his trademark, but not because he followed a script. Sergio Leone carried the entire movie in his mind, often directing without written notes, outlines, or a conventional screenplay on set. Crew members recall that Leone would walk onto the set with only the score in hand. He played Ennio Morricone's music during takes, using the rhythm to guide camera movements and performance timing. Rather than instruct actors through dialogue, he would hum or gesture the mood he wanted. Everything, from pacing to dramatic beats, came from memory and instinct. This improvisational approach baffled some collaborators. American crew members were used to detailed storyboards and shot lists. But Leone relied on his photographic memory and intense preparation during pre-production. By the time the camera rolled, he already saw the scene in his head. It was unorthodox, but it worked. What looked like chaos behind the scenes became iconic on screen. Number 12. The film used real skeletons. Sometimes props aren't just props. In the film's haunting final sequence at Sad Hill Cemetery, among the hundreds of graves and skeletons scattered around, one wasn't made of plastic or rubber. It was real human remains. According to behind-the-scenes accounts, one skeleton used in the background was rented from a woman in Madrid. Her mother had donated her body to science and requested it continue acting after death. While that might sound unusual, it wasn't entirely uncommon in European cinema at the time. Authenticity was prized, and studios often used real bones in place of fake ones when they needed eerie realism on a budget. This macabre decision added unsettling realism to the sequence. Few in the audience could ever guess that one of the skeletons on screen had once walked the earth. But it's one more detail that shows how far the filmmakers went to make the world of the good, the bad, and the ugly feel disturbingly alive. Number 13. The graveyard was built by the Army. What looked like an ancient cemetery was actually brand new, constructed from scratch for the film, and not by Hollywood professionals, but by soldiers. Sad Hill Cemetery, the setting for the film's legendary final showdown, didn't exist before filming. To bring Sergio Leone's vision to life, the Spanish Army was enlisted to help. Hundreds of soldiers worked to carve out the massive circular graveyard in the hills of Burgos, Spain. They dug 5,000 fake graves by hand, following precise layout plans designed to make the site look weathered and abandoned. After filming wrapped, the set was left to decay. For decades it was forgotten, lost to time and overgrown by weeds. But years later, devoted fans tracked down the location and began restoring it. Their efforts were chronicled in the documentary Sad Hill Unearthed, which shows how fiction and history collided in a real-world resurrection. A graveyard built for a Western became a shrine to cinematic legacy. Number 14. The score was written before filming. Most film scores are added after the final cut, but The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly flipped that process completely. The music came first, shaping the movie before a single scene was shot. Director Sergio Leone asked composer Ennio Morricone to begin composing early drafts of the score while the script was still evolving. This wasn't just to get a head start, it was part of Leone's unique directing style. He wanted the music to influence the rhythm of each scene. Morricone delivered haunting melodies that echoed the film's themes of desolation, greed, and violence. Leone then brought those tracks onto set, playing them during takes so the actors and crew could match their movement and emotion to the music's pace and tone. It gave the film a lyrical, operatic feel. Scenes didn't just unfold, they flowed like a visual symphony. In many ways, the score became the film's heartbeat before the camera ever rolled. Number 15. Tucos' famous scene was drug-induced. One of the film's most iconic moments came from a burst of energy that wasn't entirely natural. Eli Wallik's wild dash through Sad Hill Cemetery, arms flailing as Tucos searches for the grave marked unknown, is unforgettable. But there's a hidden story behind that frenzied performance. According to Wallik himself, the sprint was fueled by more than adrenaline. Someone on set, possibly as a prank or misunderstanding, allegedly slipped a mind-altering substance into his lunch. He didn't realize it until later, when strange sensations and heightened awareness kicked in just before the cameras rolled. Rather than halt production, Wallik powered through the scene. The result was electric. His wide-eyed expressions and erratic movements captured Tuco's desperation perfectly. Leone loved the take so much that he built the scene's pacing around it. What could have been a filming disaster instead became one of the most memorable moments in the movie. Number 16. Dubbing erased the actors' voices. What you hear isn't always what was said on set. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, most of the actors' original voices were replaced, some permanently lost to post-production. Sergio Leone didn't prioritize synchronized sound. He allowed actors to speak their native languages, English, Italian, Spanish, knowing the entire film would be dubbed later. This method gave him more flexibility while shooting, but it also meant the emotional nuances of the original performances were sacrificed. For English-speaking audiences, many voices were re-recorded by dubbing artists who hadn't been part of the original shoot. Even Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallik redid their own lines in a studio, often without the context of the scene. Other actors had their voices entirely replaced, altering the tone and delivery. This dubbing practice created a dreamlike, slightly off-kilter rhythm. It became a hallmark of spaghetti westerns, both admired for its style and critiqued for its disconnect. Number 17. The critics absolutely hated it. Today it's a classic, but in 1966, critics weren't impressed. When The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly first reached American audiences, reviewers dismissed it with harsh words and even harsher comparisons. Some called it the bad, the dull, and the interminable. Others labeled it a soulless imitation of American westerns, too violent, too long, too foreign. The term spaghetti western itself was coined as a jab at Italian productions that dared to rival Hollywood. Mainstream critics couldn't see past the dubbing and stylized violence. They missed the satire and artistry behind Sergio Leone's direction and Ennio Morricone's groundbreaking score. Only later did film historians revisit the movie and recognize its innovation. The public, however, saw something different. Audiences packed theaters. Over time, the same film that was once ridiculed became a cultural cornerstone, and critics were left to rewrite their reviews in hindsight. Number 18. Its violence was ahead of its time. What shocked viewers in the 1960s now feels strangely modern. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly didn't romanticize violence. It showcased it with raw, unfiltered realism. At a time when Hollywood westerns still portrayed gunfights as clean duels between good and evil, Sergio Leone depicted war as brutal, dirty, and indifferent. Soldiers suffered. Civilians were caught in crossfire. Greed and betrayal were everywhere. Leone wasn't glorifying the Old West. He was criticizing it. Many critics missed the subtext, dismissing the violence as gratuitous. But younger audiences saw something different. They recognized the film's darker tone as more honest and closer to what modern storytelling would embrace. Decades later, filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez would cite Leone's approach as a major influence. In a genre that once played it safe, this film raised the stakes and redefined what a Western could be. Number 19. Leone and Eastwood's friendship collapsed. Creative brilliance can lead to creative tension, and that's exactly what happened between Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood. What began as a groundbreaking partnership ended in silence. By the time they filmed The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Eastwood had grown frustrated with Leone's obsessive directing style. Scenes often required dozens of takes, sometimes over minor details. Long shooting days dragged into weeks, and Eastwood, known for his efficiency, found the experience exhausting. The tipping point came after filming ended. Leone didn't acknowledge Eastwood's contribution in interviews, often downplaying his role or praising other collaborators more openly. Eastwood took it personally and never looked back. When Leone approached him later to star in Once Upon a Time in the West, Eastwood refused. the two never worked together again. What could have been a legendary director-actor duo instead became a one-time trilogy that ended on a cold note. Number 20. Lee Van Cleef was allegedly sabotaged. A trademark squint and icy glare made Lee Van Cleef unforgettable, but according to rumors, those features may not have been entirely voluntary. During intense outdoor shoots under the Spanish sun, Van Cleef's eyes were exposed to blowing sand and bright lights. But one story that circulated among the crew suggests that the sandstorms he endured weren't always accidental. Some believe that a crew member, or possibly another actor, deliberately kicked sand toward his face during a scene, aiming to throw him off or provoke a reaction. The gritty discomfort led to watery, irritated eyes, and the fierce squint that audiences came to associate with his ruthless character. While never confirmed, Van Cleef reportedly mentioned the incident in private, hinting that not all on-set tensions were purely professional. If true, the act of sabotage backfired. The very look meant to break his focus became part of what made his performance so memorable. Number 21. Eastwood was allegedly poisoned. Filming under extreme conditions was tough enough, but Clint Eastwood may have faced a far more personal threat. Some behind-the-scenes whispers claim he was deliberately made ill during the shoot. As the story goes, Eastwood began experiencing severe stomach problems while filming on location in Spain. At first, it was assumed to be food poisoning or a reaction to the unfamiliar cuisine, but suspicions arose that his illness was no accident. According to production rumors, certain crew members, possibly resentful of his star status or American presence, had tampered with his food. No one was ever named, and the theory was never proven. Still, the incident added to the tension between Eastwood and the largely European production team. Combined with long shooting days and Leone's perfectionist methods, the health scare deepened Eastwood's frustration with the entire project. Whether myth or truth, it became another legend in the film's already chaotic legacy. Number 22. Real explosives killed extras. The film's battle scenes were praised for their realism, but that realism came at a steep and tragic cost. In one of the most shocking revelations about production, it's believed that real lives were lost during filming. To depict Civil War combat, the production enlisted the help of the Spanish Army. They provided soldiers as extras and even used actual military-grade explosives to stage the massive bridge demolition and battlefield chaos. These weren't Hollywood pyrotechnics, they were live munitions. According to long-standing rumors, some extras were fatally injured during these scenes. The incidents were quietly written off as military training accidents, hidden from the public and press. Official reports remain vague, and no names were ever released. While never fully confirmed, the idea that lives were sacrificed in the name of cinematic spectacle adds a haunting layer to the film's legacy, and to its brutal portrayal of war's cost. Number 23. Historic structures were destroyed. Sometimes movie magic comes at the expense of real history. During production, the filmmakers made a bold and irreversible choice, blowing up an actual 19th century bridge. To stage a dramatic moment in the film's second half, Sergio Leone insisted on using a real bridge instead of a model or visual effects. The Spanish army constructed a replica wooden structure over the Arlanza River. But as filming progressed, someone suggested using a nearby historical bridge instead, one that had stood for over a century. Leone agreed, believing the authenticity would elevate the scene's power. The bridge was wired with real explosives and destroyed in a spectacular blast captured on film. Unfortunately, the structure wasn't just old. It was a designated cultural monument. Its loss sparked controversy and regret, especially among local historians. The moment remains one of the film's most explosive scenes, both literally and figuratively. But it came at the cost of an irreplaceable piece of Spanish heritage. Number 24. The original script was rejected. Before it became a gritty masterpiece, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly nearly took a very different, and much lighter, turn. At one point, the producers hired comedy writers to rewrite the script, hoping to infuse it with humor that would appeal to broader audiences. Sergio Leone was not amused. The draft they submitted was filled with slapstick, exaggerated gags, and crude jokes that clashed with the tone he envisioned. Leone, who was striving to elevate the spaghetti western into something operatic and meaningful, found the new material vulgar and unfitting. He rejected the rewrite entirely, refusing to use even a single scene. Instead, he stuck to his instincts, developing the film's rhythm and narrative through collaboration with screenwriter Luciano Vincenzoni and composer Ennio Morricone. It was a bold move that paid off. The final product balanced bleak realism with dark wit, not cheap laughs. And thanks to that decision, the film avoided becoming a forgettable genre parody. Number 25. Its cultural influence is massive. Few films have cast a longer shadow than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What began as a risky Italian Western has become one of the most referenced and revered movies in modern cinema. Its iconic standoff inspired countless imitations, from Back to the Future Part 3 to The Simpsons. Directors like Quentin Tarantino have cited it as a key influence, with Tarantino famously calling it the greatest achievement in cinema history. The music alone, composed by Ennio Morricone, is instantly recognizable and used across genres, from sports to comedy. The film also redefined how Westerns were made. It broke away from clean-cut heroes and black-and-white morality, introducing morally gray characters and operatic storytelling. Its visuals, pacing, and sound design became blueprints for future generations of filmmakers. More than 5 decades later, it still shapes how stories are told. From indie films to blockbusters, Leone's vision echoes across screens big and small. More than just a film, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly became a cinematic revolution, reshaping not only the Western genre, but also global filmmaking as a whole. With its haunting score, bold camera work, and morally complex characters, Sergio Leone created something that continues to inspire and influence decades later. The film dared to challenge norms, blur lines between heroes and villains, and speak to the futility of war, all while entertaining audiences with unforgettable style. Its themes remain as relevant today as they were in 1966, and every rewatch reveals something new beneath the dust and gun smoke. It's no wonder filmmakers, critics, and fans alike still study it, not just as a Western, but as a masterpiece of cinematic storytelling. What's your favorite secret or behind-the-scenes moment from this legendary movie? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what surprised you the most. If you enjoyed the ride through film history, give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.